The Biodome, a pure, self-contained environment where 5 scientists are about to be sealed off from every conceivable form of contamination, except one.
Well, check out that mall, man.
Our dream is finally at hand.
What kind of mall is this?
Get them out of here!
The doors are sealed for 1 year.
We're stuck here.
That's right.
12 months?
Yes.
52 weeks.
Yes.
385 days?
Now, the whole world is watching as Bud and Doyle are separated from their loved ones. Learn about endangered species.
They're the rarest Lepidoptera in the world.
Experience nature firsthand. And become world-renowned protectors of the planet.
Purple sticky punch, or hemp, is an excellent source of photosynthesis.
Just because we're stuck in a bubble doesn't mean we can't cause any trouble.
On 3, 3.
This winter,
Welcome to paradise!
Pauly Shore and Baldwin
Trick or treat!
are doing whatever it takes
I feel like a duck-billed platypus.
to put the mental back in environmental.
Well, could you at least make it taste like chicken? Otherwise, I'm gonna shrivel up like a supermodel. I am so fat. Nobody likes me. People didn't like me in high school.
Biodome.
Iron Man, does whatever and I can.
Hold it! That's Spider-Man.
Come on, what do you think? You're some rocket scientist?
Yes.
Sorry.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
How's it going, friends?
Hello, everyone. As we have talked about, I've been going to the actual movie theater a lot more recently. And I think I'm getting to the age where I went to 2 places that are completely different movie-going experiences than normal. And I think I'm becoming the old man yelling at kids to get off my lawn, because I just want it to be concessions to be the way they are. First example is I went to an AMC where it was you punch the order into like a machine, and then you sit there and wait for them to get the food for you. And it was chaotic. And everybody was ordering like popcorn and drinks, and nobody knew whose was whose. And I don't know what efficiency they were trying to solve, but it made me not want to go to that theater anymore. And then on the flip side, I went to a dine-in theater. You order the food and they bring it to you. And that was just awkward. And just sitting there going, yeah, bring me my popcorn. It wasn't like fine dining. It was literally just a normal movie theater menu, but they bring it to your seat. And I don't want things to change, guys. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I like how Mark has just discovered dine-in theaters after they've been around for like a decade.
I think he's going to talk about like the soda fountains, like the push buttons.
I like how they have you could order 100 different flavors.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But that's been my experience. I guess the good part of the dine-in theater was that with the seats having a little more space, I got easily to get out of that seat to go to the bathroom without really disturbing anyone. So I think that's my only thumbs up for the dine-in, for that kind of dine-in theater, not if they were actually bringing you like pizzas and stuff like that. Maybe they had that there, maybe not. I just felt weird getting a thing of popcorn delivered to me.
Gotcha. I usually get snacks when I go to the theater. I'm a man of few, I'm just in and out, really. If I go with my wife, she'll get popcorn and a soda. But if it's me, I'm just in there, don't talk to me, don't sit next to me, let me watch my movie in peace. Pretend I wasn't even there. That's basically how I go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
I treat it like an errand.
Do you hate watch movies now?
I mean, I hate watched this movie this week.
Oh yeah, this should be. This movie was legit torture.
It was definitely torture, but not when I was a kid. I loved this movie when I was a kid, but yeah. Okay, so this week for our movie was January movie of the month, and we decided to do a grab bag of fuck you, it's January movies. All of these picks were January releases because, as usual, or at least historically, the January release schedule is garbage. So we picked 3 movies, put them against each other on our Twitter. And yeah, there are 3 terrible movies. We had Dunstan Checks In, we had our runner-up Cabin Boy, and then we had our winner. And that film is Biodome. And Mark, this is your pick.
Yeah. So I literally picked this because I knew you guys would pick good movies as well, and I just wanted like it to be a competition. So I'm like, what movie would the internet think was funny for us to watch? And I was like, a Pauly Shore movie. And as you stated, I also watched this movie too much as a child, and it makes me now have second thoughts about watching any of the other Pauly Shore movies, even the ones where I'm like, that's actually a good Pauly Shore movie, because I think it's all clouded in nostalgia now.
Okay, now what would you have said was a good Pauly Shore movie?
In my head, there's 2. There's Encino Man.
Okay.
And there's In the Army Now.
Okay. Not a fan of Jury Duty, huh?
No, not really. those were the 2 we watched, of the 3, including this one, that we watched the most of Pauly Shore when I was probably just barely old enough to watch it and understand what was going on. And my sister was perfectly in that wheelhouse of this was her humor as a teen. So, yeah, it makes me think all those, well, no, there's actually, he acts in this one, because everything in this movie just made me feel bad for the other people acting around these 2, because it was cringe is overused nowadays, but this definitely would fit that category. Pauly Shore's stuff in this movie made me feel bad for Stephen Baldwin, because I feel like a lot of the things he was asked to do was just bullied by Pauly Shore. It's one of those things where it makes me not want to go back and watch movies that I liked as a child.
Gotcha. Dan, where are you coming from with what movie you watch?
Biodome. Oh man, yeah. I'd seen this movie once before. Nothing's changed. I thought it was bad then. I think it's bad now. I wanted to see this for my 9th birthday. We were talking about this off podcast. So my birthday's in January, and I remember seeing I was 9 years old at the time. So I remember seeing the trailer for it on TV and like, this looks really funny. Like, I want to go see that. And my dad asked me, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I said, I want to go see Biodome. Biodome, what the hell is that? I'm sure he looked it up, or he saw something about it, and he saw this looked atrocious. Like, I'm not going to waste my money on a Pauly Shore movie. Absolutely not. We'll do something else. So again, my dad made the right choice. He saved me from having to go see this movie. I probably would have loved it.
I have a feeling this is him not trusting you anymore after going to see turtles coming out of their shell.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine. Well, I was like 2 or 3. I was really young, so you can't blame me for that. But this, he was like, okay, he's almost 10. I'm not letting him get away with this. Pick your battles, kind of thing.
I am not suffering for this.
Right. He's not. He works hard. He's not going to give any of that hard-earned money to Pauly Shore. God damn it. I can't remember how old I was when I saw it. I was probably in college the first time I saw it. Really dumb. Really, really bad. But who would have thought that this wouldn't be the worst thing a Baldwin would have done?
True. True.
At the time, I think this was the benchmark.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, Alec Baldwin's an asshole, but he wasn't in Biodome. But
yeah. There is one of the trivia of this movie on IMDb was that Alec Baldwin told Stephen Baldwin that if he takes this movie, it might ruin his career. So now looking back, it's like, oh, Stephen Cole was like, hey, remember?
It's
Maybe you
like
shouldn't have taken that movie either.
it's like in The Simpsons, right, where Marge is a gambler. Like,
Yeah.
I may have done this, but you're a gambler. Like, well, I might have done Biodome, but you're a murderer.
Allegedly, Dan.
An alleged murder, yeah. So yeah, I mean, this movie from the get-go,
Yeah.
even from the opening credits,
Oh boy.
it's just obnoxious from beginning to
Yeah.
end. But that was humor in the 90s, right? That was kind of like
The font and text on the screen made me slightly sad because it started to make me hate, because I've always said, oh, I love when ESPN2 first started. They did the lowercase letters and it was all cool. And then I saw this, which was from the same time period. I'm like, fuck, that wasn't cool at all, was it?
it's definitely it hurt my brain because there's a lot of flashing pictures, just loud music. I think it wanted to be Dumb and Dumber.
Yes.
Yeah.
But just more obnoxious, right? Because Jeff Daniels was the serious actor. Jim Carrey was the comedic slapstick actor. So Pauly Shore, comedic slapstick, and Stephen Baldwin was more of a
Usual Suspects was the year before.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
So he was the more serious actor. Probably I don't think he was the bigger name though, right? Do you think Pauly Shore at this time was bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the culmination. This is the peak of Pauly Shore.
Okay.
I was looking at the order of things because between 92 and 96, it's Encino Man, Son-in-Law, In the Army Now, and then Jury Duty, and then Biodome. So this is the fifth one.
I had actually heard decent things about Son-in-Law, but I've never seen it.
It's got a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is the highest of those 5.
There you go. That's awesome. There's another podcast that I was listening to that they had to watch Son-in-Law and discuss it. And the way that the podcasters spoke about it was very highly. They're like, oh, there's some really good dramatic scenes in it, and Pauly Shore actually has to act in it. Like Mark was saying, there's some movies where Pauly Shore actually acts in it. You have an okay cast here. Sometimes when you have a bad movie, you'll have a stellar cast, and you kind of wonder, how did this happen? But this one was okay, right? You had William Atherton, you had Joey Lauren Adams. I had a huge crush on her as a kid. Kylie Minogue. I don't know how much of an actor she was at that time, right? More known for her singing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she's on the come up too now.
Yeah. I also think she was a soap star in Australia.
Okay.
Neighbors.
Yeah.
And, what's his name is also in it, right? Henry Gibson, I think.
Henry Gibson, yeah.
Henry Gibson. He was in quite a few movies.
Yeah. He's a long-time actor.
Yeah. So an okay cast, and it produced it didn't gel. I did like the Ghostbusters reference at the end from William Atherton. Do you remember, guys?
I missed it.
What's the magic word?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm assuming that was a Ghostbusters reference because William Atherton says it. And for those who don't know, William Atherton was Peck from Ghostbusters.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the references are just the easiest one to make.
Sure.
Like he was in Ghostbusters. Let him say a Ghostbusters line. Or Pauly Shore singing the Big Mac song. He
didn't have a whole ton of lines either in Ghostbusters, but he was memorable, obviously. This man has no dick. I think I laughed one time in this movie. One time at the joke at the very beginning, like when Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin's characters are in the Biodome and they're talking to William Atherton, and I forget exactly how it leads up, but Shore goes, well, who do you think you are, a rocket scientist? And Atherton just very deadpan, yeah. And he goes, oh, sorry. It's just the very deadpan nature. It's like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then after that, nothing. Dead.
You had 90 more minutes.
It peaked. It peaked in like minute 10.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is very much a time capsule of 1990s humor, and it should stay buried.
I feel like the people that wrote this movie, and I'm using wrote in quotes, thought that that whole second to third act, I guess, would be the transition when they have the party and all. thought that it was like the boys learned a lesson, but I don't feel they learned anything
Me neither.
in this movie. Even though that's what that whole last part of the movie is supposed to be, them learning, but they're still the same people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's no character development.
Yeah, it's all about just wanting to have their girlfriends when they get out. Like that's the whole reason they're doing it.
Yeah. These characters are essentially they're Bill and Ted without the charm, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So where Bill and Ted are just unapologetically pleasant and they win over everybody they come into contact with, like even death, right? They're so upbeat that they turn death onto their side. Squirrel and what's his name?
It's
Doyle.
Bud and Doyle.
Bud and Doyle. They keep saying the fucking squirrel, and I don't. Is that like their team?
Squirrel and Stubbs.
Squirrel and Stubbs. Oh,
yeah,
it's so bad. So yeah, Bud and Doyle. Everyone they come into contact with just hates them, except for their girlfriends for some reason. I think it's an abusive relationship.
I don't know. I like you're part. You are the company you keep, right?
Or is it there? Do they feel as if they can change them?
I guess. I just think they're stupid. That's why they go to junior college.
JUCO.
That's the one joke I like is the motto of their school. It's a sign gag. It just says it's a Thunderbird Junior College, nothing to be ashamed of.
No, that's good. I like that.
I love a good sign gag, and that was pretty good.
You don't get those anymore.
Yeah,
sign gags have gone out of style, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, this movie was. There's no redeeming qualities in it. There's some weird transitions. Like a scene will just end, and it'll go to the next scene. We're like very jarring cuts. Like there's a scene at the end where Dr. Faulkner, William Atherton's character, has gone crazy. He's in his he's in the basement, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking to the parrot, and the parrot's like, I'm God, I'm God. And he's like, no, I'm God. And the parrot says, I'm God. And then they cut to the girlfriends doing whatever. And then it cuts back to William Atherton having eaten the parrot.
Mm-hmm.
Just a weird transition there. Like, there should have been, it shouldn't have been a scene in between, right? It should have just been like, I'm God, and I am God. And then there's like maybe a swipe or something, like not a swipe, but the very next scene is just him eating the chicken bone.
Mm-hmm.
And you say like, oh, now who's God now, kind of thing. So it's just weird transitions, like as if they didn't really they didn't know how to edit certain parts of the movie, but they had this footage. Like, Jesus, how do we make this funny? And we'll fix it in post, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It was bad. That's all. It was just bad.
There's actually another joke that I actually appreciate, and it's not so much a joke as it's just an odd thing. Is the clown getting shot at the mall?
The JFK reference.
The JFK reference.
That was so weird. Why?
completely out of left field.
Yeah.
And then it's just Taylor and Negron just saying, I want to see if the sniper shot the clown at the mall.
You see, I thought this was like a William Gacy, or was it a Ted Gacy? Who's the serial killer? Gacy,
William
right?
Gacy?
William Gacy. So I thought it had something to do with William Gacy, but then I was looking through the trivia and it goes, oh yeah, it's a play on JFK. What the fuck?
Yeah, because this movie was probably written when Oliver Stone's JFK came out.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, JFK was like 90.
Yeah,
okay.
90,
This was
91.
96.
91.
So
Yeah.
5 years later, really striking while the iron's hot there.
I mean, that joke is still referenced every so often, just in general with some people or anybody that's seen the movie, just because of how over dramatic Kevin Costner's accent is in that scene.
Oh, is it referencing that scene when he goes
back into the left?
To the left. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
they even do it in Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Is that the magic loogie?
The magic loogie.
Yeah, there you go. Well, question, and I think they kind of do a poor job of explaining it. So the whole crux of this movie is there's 5 scientists and they're isolating themselves into this self-sustained habitat. Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin, they sneak in and it kind of like throws hijinks ensue, right?
Yeah.
Why couldn't they have just kicked them out real quick after it started?
Because So they could technically, but
And just start all over, right?
Exactly. You could have probably set the clock however long it took to find them and remove them. But
Yeah.
William Atherton's character was dead set on it has started, they can't stop it. That was his call because the investor Leakey was like, get them out of there. And he says, no, the whole point of this is that we can't open the doors for an entire year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess they wanted it to go from Earth Day to Earth Day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the 90s was big on like this environmental awareness bullshit. But I guess, the hole in the ozone layer has closed, so good for us. We did it.
We've taken steps and it worked.
If we did take it seriously in the 90s and not make fun of them, we wouldn't be staring the death of the planet in the face.
Yeah, well, it's not our fault. Nerds were telling us.
Right, you got to get who is the big sexy hunks. You got to get the kids from 90210 in there.
Yeah, maybe if MTV during spring break had Dan Cortez telling us about, climate change, I would have listened. Or Daisy Fuentes. Daisy Fuentes could have sold me a Tesla.
Yeah, like what is was Joey Lawrence? Was he on 90210?
No.
Was that Beverly Hills 902? I've never watched it, so I don't know.
Brendan Fraser? No, not Brendan Fraser. What's his name? His name was Brendan on the show.
Jason Priestley?
Jason Priestley. Yeah. You get Jason Priestley doing one of those, hey, listen, I may be an actor, but what's not pretend. Fixing the ozone layer, helping the environment. You could do your part. Call this toll-free 1-800 number, because that was big back in the 90s. Remember the toll-free 1-800? So yeah, why not get you got to get hot people to do things. People listen to hot, dumb people.
Exactly. Jenny McCarthy telling me to stop my carbon footprint and also don't get vaccinated, but that's neither here nor there.
Thankfully, we were old enough to realize that. Okay, we're past that.
Do you think Bud and Doyle have jerked each other off?
1000%.
Yeah. I mean, the comment at the end where he says, it's the only thing I'm good at. And he's like, yes, and you're really good at that.
And they set it up. They set it up because they're driving by and he goes, oh, Biodome. Do you think it goes both ways? I know we do. Like, oh, well, all right. They're progressive. Interesting. I would not have expected these two to be progressive.
Yeah. Have they fucked?
No. I you know what? I think they kind of draw the line there.
You think they sucked each other's dicks?
I'm gonna stick with the hand jobs.
Okay.
I think they give, and it's not dry. I think they know what they're doing. They lube it up a little bit.
They guise it under showing each other different techniques.
Yes. Yeah. 100%, Mark. Right. Like, oh, let me show you something, Doyle. And it's like, I call this the Dutch rudder. And
you twist it to the left.
Buddy, right. You ever sit on your hand, bud, until it goes numb? I also 100% believe that they've exchanged girlfriends.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. I think they're definitely free swinging like that, and more power to them. That's great. That's that kind of friendship that that they would die for each other.
Sure.
And Mark, I think you were saying this. I do feel as if Pauly Shore bullied Stephen Baldwin on this, at least character-wise. He probably decided on all the comedic beats, like, oh, I think this would be funny, or
you're going to chew my toe.
Right. Like, everything you do, I'm just going to beat you at.
Yeah.
Where in Dumb and Dumber, they both shared being stupid. It wasn't Lloyd always having the upper hand over Harry or vice versa. Yeah. So I think there was some chemistry between them, but it could have been done better.
Okay. Yeah. This movie sucks. Yeah. I never even mentioned where I'm coming from with this. I watched this all the time when I was a kid. At least I've rented this at least twice, I think. I don't know why now that I'm looking back at it. It's tough to watch. And yes, this is completely an answer, a 90s MTV answer to Dumb and Dumber. And I hate Dumb and Dumber. I'm one of those people. And this is bad.
You would say that Dumb and Dumber is better than this, though.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. But it does have some of the things that annoy me in Dumb and Dumber are how annoying they are and how like purposefully annoying they make their characters. And it's for the same thing. Like so many scenes in this movie have to end with Pauly Shore making a weird noise or dancing for no reason or doing a bad impression of someone. And yeah, if you could cut. This could be a nice 70-minute movie. Cut all that out, and it probably would be like 40% on Rotten Tomatoes instead of a 4.
Yeah.
Wow, a full 40%.
Yeah, I say 36% would go up if you just cut out those pieces wherever the beat of those scenes ends, and then Pauly Shore does a stupid dance. Cut it. Where he makes a bad impression. Cut it. There's always those scenes that just go on a little bit longer, so Pauly Shore could kind of mug for the camera. Cut all those. Maybe a nice long hour-long episode of a TV show that doesn't exist, and this will be a lot better.
Sure. I think it lacked stakes, this movie. There's no inner turmoil between Bud and Doyle. They never get to that point where they get in each other's way to the point where they don't want to talk to each other anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What I kept envisioning was, because they have this on again, off again relationship with the scientists, right? With Kylie Minogue and Patricia. No, that's not her.
No, not Patty Hearst.
No.
It's
Who's
Dara
the
Tomanovich.
Okay. Yeah, Mimi, right?
Mhm.
So they have this on again, off again thing there. What if you had it where Pauly Shore, Stephen Baldwin, Joey Lauren Adams, and Teresa Hill all are trapped in the biodome, and there's kind of that tension going between the doctors and Pauly Shore and Doyle and the girlfriends, like they're losing their boyfriends to these doctors. You switch it up there. That's why there's some tension in the biodome, because other than that, they're just being pervs on these scientists for no reason.
Yeah.
They 100% sexually assault them.
Yeah, they slip into bed with them in the first night of being in the biodome.
Yeah, Doyle literally
grabs a tit. He grabs tit.
And I could have sworn Pauly Shore looked like he was trying to take his pants off underneath the covers.
Yeah. Terrible. And these are our protagonists.
Oh yeah. Again, the 90s was a different time. I guess it was funnier to sexual assault people. Apparently, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
but it was okay for them apparently.
Yeah. So, Biodome from 1996 is directed by Jason Blum, who's directed Overnight Delivery, Viva Las Nowhere, 4 episodes of Veronica Mars, and 9 episodes of iZombie. Stars Pauly Shore, Stephen Baldwin, William Atherton, Denise Dowse, Kevin West, Kylie Minogue, Joey Lauren Adams, Teresa Hill, Patricia Hearst, Dara Tomanovich, and Henry Gibson. Has an IMDb score of 4.4 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 4. Budget $15 million. Box office 13.4. Did not make
Almost made its money back. Almost.
Very close. We would have had another Pauly Shore movie if it was the case, but this was it. This was the end of that era, really.
Yeah.
He's not in much after that of any, like, he does some voice stuff. He's in an extremely goofy movie. And really the next thing is Pauly Shore is Dead in 2004.
Apparently that was not terrible, because it's like a fake biopic, right?
Yeah. 54% on Rotten Tomatoes, if that helps.
He also did Pinocchio, A True Story, which I've heard is god awful.
The trailer is hilarious because it has him as in a voiceover. You hear him, and he just sounds like a whiny little brat
in Pinocchio form.
Yeah, Father, when I want to be a real boy,
buddy. I'm glad that he stopped doing that. Like he actually grew a little bit, not much, but he knew when to cut out the weasel.
Right.
So I think he's still kind of respected in some circles. Like some stand-up comedians still respect him because his mother owned the
Comedy Store, right?
The Comedy Store.
Yeah.
So I guess he still gets some hand-me-down credit.
He's a nepo baby.
Yeah. Well, I hold nothing against Pauly Shore. He took what was big at the time and he ran with it. Right? Yeah. It's not his fault that he became famous. It's our fault.
True. That's true. I forgot Stanley Tucci is in Jury Duty.
Tooch.
The Tooch.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably like the third best 12 Angry Men riff.
What? So what? 12 Angry Men being the first. What's the second?
Well, no, like so. There's 12 Angry Men, and then there's at least
the remake.
The made-for-TV version of it.
Okay.
There's
Tia
probably
Carrera's in that too.
There's probably a second one. There's probably like, there should be an animated 12 Angry Men.
That'd be good. I'd watch
Yeah.
that. This is a good cast. Pauly Shore, Tia Carrera,
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci, Brian Doyle Murray, Abe Vigoda.
Everybody wanted a piece of the weasel.
The whistle. I gotta watch this now. I feel like because you guys have both mentioned it.
It's got this has a true 0%. And if you told me if this was better or worse than Biodome, I would have said Jury Duty is better.
I can't imagine anything being worse than Biodome. It made what was it? Oh, it doesn't say what it has the box office, but it doesn't say how much it cost to make. So it made 17 mil total, but it doesn't have a budget for Jury Duty. I can't imagine it being more than 17, right? 17 mil?
I can't.
Yeah, probably 14, 15 range. Or maybe made a little profit.
It is of only 14 critics, so it's not a huge sample size.
Yeah.
So, do you guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us?
All right, fellas, you know what time it is. Gonna give a shout out to our friends at Geek Vibes Nation and their podcast, The Top 10 with Tia. So it's a podcast that's run by our friends Tia and Brittany. It's a weekly podcast. I believe it airs every Sunday. Go over to geekvibesnation.com, search Top 10 with Tia, and check it out.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast, and we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for Biodome. We open on a very 90s opening credit sequence set to some punk rock music by Fourth Grade Nothing. After the credits, we get some stock footage with a male narrator talking about environmental disasters. And then it introduces Dr. Noah Faulkner, William Atherton, and his plan to create the world's first Earth space station, when he and 4 scientists will spend the next year in a completely sterile environment. We then cut to Bud and Doyle doing anything but being sterile, playing a game of rock, paper, scissors in order to decide who gets to hit the other one in the head with a book.
Yeah, and question, see if this was something you guys noticed or not, but I feel like, and it'd be totally in character, I feel like Pauly Shore's character cheats in the rock, paper, scissors. That he changes to paper every time he sees Doyle throw a rock.
He does it at least once, towards the end.
Yeah, he definitely does it. I think when they're fighting over the blankets and the pillows. But I also think the joke itself is also just that Doyle always throws rock, right?
Yeah, he's a student of the Avalanche.
Good old faithful rock. Nothing beats that.
Nothing beats that.
Yep.
Poor predictable Bart. And then Pauly Shore wins, so he runs across the house to smack Doyle in the forehead and sends him ass over tea kettle into the bookcase. Their girlfriends Monique and Jen come over, and it turns out that Bud and Doyle is doing all this to try to get out of an Earth Day event that their girlfriends are trying to drag them to. Apparently, this is not the first time they've tried something like this, as they've gotten out of Hands Across America, Save the Whales, among other environmentally conscious causes. Isn't the Hands Across America like the 80s? Wouldn't they have been like 12?
I guess they could still participate in it. I don't remember exactly when it was, though.
That's a question. It might have been in the 90s. I might be thinking of...
Yeah, because don't they reference it in...
1986.
Wow. I was like, don't they reference it in Forrest Gump?
They might have. I can't remember. I know they go through a lot of stuff in Forrest Gump. 86, were they would have been babies.
So
unless there was a second Hands Across America?
I don't think so. So Pauly Shore, I think the actual Pauly Shore, not his character, I think would have been about 18 in 1986.
Okay.
But I think he was 28 when this movie came out.
So they're too old for junior college.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Dan, are you ever too old for junior college?
That's a good point.
But they're probably but that begs the question, are they too old for Joey Lauren Adams?
Yes.
Right?
Probably.
No, she is the same age.
Ooh, wow.
She was 28 in this movie too.
I think in the context of this movie, I would say yes.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Do you think he's supposed to be older, or do you think he's just a waste of space that just doesn't go to college?
I don't know.
Well, they mention in the movie that they're two junior college students when they first break into the biodome.
Right, but they don't go to college.
I doubt it, but they know people in the college.
Right.
Somehow. Maybe from their girlfriends. I don't know, but there could be stupid people in junior college.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't think they're attending college.
Oh, okay. So they're enrolled, but they don't go.
No, I don't think they would ever enroll. I don't think they have any sort of interest of doing anything besides sitting on the couch.
Okay.
They have not enrolled because they're too lazy.
That makes sense. Yeah. And they never show them in the college they don't show anyone in the college. So who knows? Yeah, you're probably right. They probably are too lazy and too dumb to do it. They're too busy jerking each other off.
Exactly.
And literally smelling each other's fart.
Yeah.
They do that gag multiple times in this movie, and it's terrible the first time.
Dan, I have a feeling that was in the trailer or some reference to it, and that's the reason why 9-year-old Daniel Aquino wanted to see the movie.
And why my dad said no.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is I don't want my kid to grow up to be that.
I feel like they did it twice, but once they did it once the first time to set up the second time.
Yeah, once in a flashback.
Yeah,
and the flashbacks are so unnecessary.
There's only 2 of them too. Like if it was like a motif, and they continue to do it, like I guess there's a third one of like Doyle's mom trying to teach Bud how to hold his breath underwater.
Yeah, so they have the fart smelling, they have the jumping off the roof, and the mom holding Bud's butt underwater. Yeah. But none of them add anything to the movie.
No, they're like Family Guy cutaways.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So the girlfriends figure it out because the book they used to put a welt on Doyle's head imprinted a symbol from the cover onto his head. So the girls leave enough. Guys sit down to watch TV and to also chew on Bud's toenails together, that might be the most horrific thing in this movie.
Pauly Shore is very flexible.
Yeah, right. And it's horrifying because I don't know how they did it without that being how they did it.
Yeah.
I don't know
they did it.
Yeah. I can't really figure out the special effect behind it if it's not real.
That very much looked like a toenail in his mouth.
Yeah.
That's pure Shore right there.
Yep. I hate it.
Yeah, it is gross. It's one of the grossest things in the movie.
And the girls decide to teach them a lesson for basically being absolute waste of space. So they call from their Earth Day event, which seems like just to be picking up trash. And they say that they met some local college swimmers who were taking them to a kegger on the lake. So Bud and Doyle hop into their POS car to go and intercept their girls and make sure they don't find better men, which is an incredibly low bar. On their way, they drive past the titular biodome, which they mistake for a mall. And then they get to the lake to find that there's no one at the lake. And calling it a lake at this point is generous, as it has dried up since they were kids and is now just a dumping ground of trash. On the way back, Doyle winds up having to go to the bathroom, so they decide to head to the mall to go to the bathroom. At this time, there's a ceremony going on that this will be the first day the scientists go into the biodome. There are a couple of speeches from Dr. Leakey, or Mr. Leakey, the benefactor of the project, as well as Dr. Faulkner. While Faulkner is giving a speech and introducing the team, Bud and Doyle get stopped by a security guard at the door while they try and go to the biodome to pee. Bud and Doyle go around back so Doyle can pee against the wall, but Doyle says he has stage fright, so he can't go. So Bud takes some firecrackers, lights them, and throws it onto the stage as Faulkner is cutting the ribbon. And as they go off, the scientists duck for cover, and the security guard jumps into action, leaving the entrance open for Bud and Doyle to go in.
At first, I thought he was going to use the firecracker to help him go to the bathroom. Like, I don't know how that would have worked,
Right.
but I didn't think that they would throw it onto the stage.
Right. Yeah, I guess scare him so he pees, like in Friday the 13th, part 2.
Yeah.
Where she's so
Yeah.
scared she pees.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that old trick.
And also, if they were that close to the stage, they would hear them talking.
It's fair too. They walk in and head to the rainforest biome for Doyle to pee in the waterfall, which already introduces toxins into the ecosystem. At this very moment, the scientists are entering the biodome and are being locked in. The wave to the crowd, and Bud and Doyle also wave, and Leaky freaks out. Porters start asking questions, but Leaky says these are 2 special scientists they plan to use to test chaos theory in the biodome.
Good save.
Yep. Leaky is a con man, sort of.
Did they never? He seems like he's on the up and up. Do they say he's a con man?
No, but he's capitalizing on these guys to kind of drum up interest and stuff like that with the merchandising and everything.
That's right. I forgot about the merch. Yeah, he's a capitalist.
Yep. Well, you don't get enough money to build a biodome without being a capitalist, man.
Good point. It said he spent $11 million. I feel like it would have been more than that to create an entire environment.
Right? Yeah.
Who knows? That's 1996 money.
I would say it would be over $1 billion, right?
Yeah, easily.
It seemed kind of small, though, to be honest with you.
They only have basically 2 areas. They have the jungle and the desert.
Yeah.
And then the living quarters.
It seemed like about the size of an NFL practice field.
Yeah, there's no tundra. What are the other ones? Or you have jungle, grassland. There you go.
Yeah,
they got none of. They had the budget. They had the budget for a desert and a jungle.
Yeah, not even like a temperate deciduous forest.
Yeah, you call yourself a biodome?
Yeah, where's the ocean?
Yeah,
they have an oceanographer on the team, but no ocean.
No ocean. Yeah, makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you remember who you? So you have an oceanographer.
I think Mimi is the oceanographer.
Okay. Then
Romulus is the entomologist.
Okay.
So there was I wrote it down. So there's a geologist, an entomologist, an oceanographer, an agriculturalist, and I guess Faulkner was a rocket scientist. If he was being truthful. So then Petra, Kylie Minogue must have been the agriculturalist, and then what's her name? Olivia would have been the geologist.
Okay, so you need only like maybe 2 or 3 of those, right? You need the agriculturalist, probably the rocket scientist.
Do you though?
Yeah, I'm on the fence on that one, honestly. I don't know if you need that.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you build?
I'm sure he's got PhDs and everything, right? That's like one of 7 PhDs he's probably holding.
That would make more sense then if he's kind of a jack of all trades, essentially.
Yeah,
and he understands how to maintain an environment like that, regardless of what his rocket scientist ability is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you don't need the oceanographer. There's no ocean, right?
I mean, there is some marine life, but it's like a tiny little lake at the bottom of a waterfall.
It's a pond.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some fish in there.
Yeah, which there might have been like a dozen fish in there, maybe.
Right. They have a cow and a goat that we see.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, this is a very lame attempt at a biodome.
It seems half-assed. I know Leaky says that they've been planning this for years, and it seems like it's Faulkner's dream. Like this is the culmination of Faulkner's entire career. This is biodome. But it seems like they should have put $1 billion into it.
Can you imagine how funny it would have been potentially if you put Bud and Doyle in a frozen tundra?
Sure.
Right? Because at one point they outcast them into the desert, outcast them into the Arctic.
Right. Like send them on an ice flow.
Right. That's funnier. And think of all the potential comedic jokes that could have been made with them on the tundra.
Yeah.
It's better than them being in the desert. The desert is fine. Yeah, you send people into the desert to die, sure. But there's something about being literally set adrift from the group and to see them floating away slowly on the ice drift, just saying stuff.
Yeah, I would say that would have been a lot more funnier than just watching the stairs go up.
Exactly.
And then we're like, girls, we can't see you.
Yeah, that's not funny at all. No. It's the anti-funny.
So the scientists have a meeting with Leaky on the other side of the glass, and Leaky wants them to kick Bud and Doyle out because he has invested, I believe he says $100 million for the experiment. Faulkner, however, thinks it would ruin the integrity of the experiment because it is dependent on being there for exactly 1 year of time, which is also a completely arbitrary amount of time. Because what if it was a leap year? Is it an extra day?
True. Yeah.
Leaky
Again,
leaves. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but again, I don't think it hurts the experiment if you set the clock 11 minutes forward.
This is the time to do it. This is the time to remove them, basically.
Yeah, it's not like it's been 5 months and then you found them.
Yeah.
You literally you find them immediately. They make themselves known immediately.
And the fun part, I know this movie was released in January of 96. I think 96 is actually a leap year.
There you go. See?
There you go.
Yeah, because it's an election year. So leap years and election years are the same. Leaky leaves it up to Faulkner, and he says if it's his decision, he's going to make them stay. And meanwhile, Bud and Doyle hit on one of the scientists, Mimi, as she's the only one not in the meeting with Leaky. The meeting ends, and Faulkner tells the guys that they all want them to stay, and it is a chance for Bud and Doyle to make something of themselves and potentially make them famous. So Bud and Doyle stay, even though they really didn't have a choice. Faulkner shows them to their only room that they have available for them, which is a maintenance closet. And they give them a pillow and a blanket to share, and they retire for the night. And then Bud and Doyle fight over rock, paper, scissors, and Bud wins both of them. At night, Bud and Doyle can't sleep, so they go to find some beds, and they both sexually assault Mimi and Petra, Callie Minogue, in their sleep. In the morning at breakfast, Faulkner congratulates everyone for making it through the first night, and he decides that it's important for Bud and Doyle to get a full understanding of what's going on here at the Biodome. So he takes them up to a high scaffold in the rainforest biome where he shows off the entire dome and talks about how painstakingly thought out all the details of the biodome have been. And then Bud and Doyle start smoking cigarettes at that point. He tells them not to do anything that they would do at home now that they're in the biodome. He tells them to wait there, and he goes, but they immediately decide to start walking around and harass everyone. They go off and start hassling Olivia by asking her inane questions, then wind up finding Mimi and Petra while they're working. Mimi is catching tilapia to fertilize the rice crops, while Petra is doing something with carrots, which includes suggestively sucking on it for Bud's benefit, which is weird for a scientist to do, especially to this idiot.
Right. The fact that they give them the time of day is kind of discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Because immediately you know that they're morons and they're there to hurt you. Nothing they're going to do is helpful. Yes. Why would you encourage it?
The ladies can't resist the weasel.
That's what it is. That it's essentially what it is, right?
It's a mid-90s Pauly Shore, man. It's got the Riz.
He does. Yeah, he's top of the food chain.
Can't be stopped.
I'm kind of glad that's something that's kind of faded out of pop culture. Is just these mediocre men getting these incredibly hot women.
I don't know if Adam Sandler has anything to say about it.
Sure, he's the last bastion of that stereotype.
And Kevin James.
Well, he's directly tied to Adam Sandler. So
right.
If that's the only way Kevin James is going to be hooking up with any hotties, it's just
all those
that's
guys. Spade too.
Spade and Pauly Shore. Seinfeld was another one. Just he was probably better than Pauly Shore, but he was just pulling in some like tens. Like, all right, let's.
Well, I mean, just because they're 10 years old doesn't mean
it's true.
She was 17, not 10, but
what's the difference?
It's still pretty terrible.
It's in for a penny, in for a pound for him.
Oh God, I guess the high school was just closer than the middle school.
Yeah. He didn't want to. He didn't want to take that extra 10-minute trip.
Oh,
it's true, people. Look it up.
Look it up.
We're not just talking out of our asses here.
Faulkner catches Petra laughing as Bud tries to show off his yoga moves, and he tells her to get back to work. Meanwhile, back at Monique's house, she has an argument with Taylor Negron, her mother's boyfriend, by the name of Russell, over the proper way to dispose of beer cans, and they both see Bud and Doyle on a news report of the Biodome. It's our second Taylor Negron movie. He was in Nothing But Trouble.
Oh, yeah.
I've completely wiped that movie from my mind.
So, Monique and Beth go to the Biodome to talk to Bud and Doyle, and Bud and Doyle play it off like this was their plan the whole time, and they're thinking globally, not locally. So it impresses the girls because the girls are just as stupid as these guys are. and they make out with a window between each other, and then the guys go to dinner. At dinner, the guys act like they've never used utensils before, as they openly criticize and spit their food out all over the table over the fact that this is soy-based. And that night, Doyle has trouble sleeping again, so Bud tells him to think about all their sleepovers from when they were kids. So we flash back to when they were kids, sleeping in a blanket fort, smelling each other's farts to guess what they had for dinner. And then Doyle falls asleep. Back at Monique's house, her mom's boyfriend shows her a newspaper article with a pic of Bud and Doyle with Mimi and Petra. So he tells her she should go out and fuck behind Bud's back, and then makes a pass at her. Creep. Well, I guess she's an adult.
But he's much older, right? He's like in his 30s, right?
I mean,
40s maybe.
I would have said 40s, yeah.
Why is that in the movie where he's trying to bang a potential 19-year-old? Right? How old are they supposed to be in this, right? Junior college, so 20 maybe at the most?
So I'm going to say they're 21 because they are in a bar.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I'm going to assume that they are drinking age, but I will say that they're 21.
Okay. It's still creepy on his end.
Yeah. So he was born in 1957. R.I.P. also Taylor Negron.
He died?
2015.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he would have been almost 40. He would have been 39 at the time.
Now I kind of feel bad for speaking ill of the dead, but
well,
still
I mean,
gross.
it's just his character.
It's his character.
His character might still be alive.
Yeah, maybe. Delivering pizzas.
Back at the Biodome, Leakey has decided to capitalize on Bud and Doyle's popularity and has printed up t-shirts to show off. They suggest other merchandising ideas, including environmentally friendly condom wrappers, anatomically correct action figures, and a 900 number. Later, as they're hanging out in the rainforest, Doyle says he's bored, so after flashing back to when they were kids jumping off their roof when they were bored, they decide that just because they're stuck in a bubble doesn't mean they can't cause any trouble. So we montage of them causing trouble in said bubble, playing some football, giving a presentation on why they should grow marijuana, and bungee jumping into the lake. Meanwhile, Monique and Jen go to junior college, Thunderbird Junior College, where nothing to be ashamed of.
It's a pretty good gag.
Where Rose McGowan shows up with a flyer about a Save the Rainforest event at Arizona Tech, complete with dudes and kegs. There's a small detail in this movie about Rose McGowan, which I will bring up later.
Well, we also get our first look at Tenacious D in this movie.
Tenacious D shows up, yep.
Yeah, it might have been their first on-screen appearance together.
A very skinny Jack Black.
Yeah, and a semi-skinny Kyle Glass.
Yeah, he was still a little chubby.
Yeah, not bad. You know,
Jen doesn't want to go out of respect to Doyle, but Monique says that they should put themselves first for a change because they're going to be so old in a year. They 23.
Yeah. Have those problems.
Yeah, still can't rent a car.
Nope.
Meanwhile, Bud and Doyle are making great strides at pissing everyone off in the biodome by using the crops for their own pleasure, turning their rain generator into a hot tub, and interfering with Faulkner's interview with the reporters. During a game of hide and seek, Doyle hides in Dr. Romulus' entomology room, and Bud and Doyle proceed to knock over all the bug cages for no real reason, and all the bugs escape. Monique and Jen go to Save the Rainforest event and get hit on by a couple of guys that are pretending to care about the environment once they find out that Monique and Jen are into that environmental stuff. And Bud and Doyle also break a window playing golf and try to make it up to Romulus. They set up a giant piece of flypaper and catch all the insects, killing them in the process. At dinner one night, we're about 20 days in at this point. The scientists ground the guys essentially in their room without dinner. So when hunger becomes too much for them to bear, they climb into the air vent and drop down into the supply room next door. And they open up a barrel to find a whole bunch of snacks. They gorge themselves on snacks until they find a nitrous oxide tank. So then they start huffing the nitrous and fucking the place up.
My own question about this is, why did they hide that food in like nuclear waste tubes?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
If they're sitting there just eating soy-based dinners, like why are these things being hidden? Because it's like, it's not nutritional. It's like Cheetos and shit.
Yeah. I thought that the gag was going to be Pauly Shore keeps saying, "Oh, my nose is like a bloodhound. I know exactly where I'm going." And then he's like, "Yeah, this is the one, this container, the one with the nuclear waste on it." I thought they were going to open it up and there's going to be a green glow from there. And then basically they just do something stupid with the nuclear waste, like releasing it into the biodome. But no, there's Pringles in there. There's cans of 7-Up. Mark, I don't know why they did that, Mark. It's really dumb.
smashing shit, throwing stuff around, and once again causing trouble in the bubble. The commotion wakes all the scientists up, and to punish them, Faulkner sends them to the desert portion of the biodome and pulls the stairs up. So Bud and Doyle waste away in the desert for an indeterminate amount of time. It's probably like 12 hours or something. Spend time wallowing in self-pity and confessing to terrible things that they did as kids, including Doyle letting Bud's cat take the blame for killing his pet turtle, ultimately leading to the cat being put down, and Bud inadvertently ending Doyle's aunt and uncle's marriage and making the aunt go insane.
See, here's the point where they could have had them come to the realization that they're bad people.
Yes.
But like if this scene takes place after the party,
yeah,
it's a pretty good scene to have them go, we're not good people, something like that, and go, we're gonna fix this. That's how we can show, our girlfriends that we're good people or something.
Yeah. The joke there. So when they're cast into the desert, the joke there should have been Bud and Doyle say they're dying, but the Grim Reaper's on our neck. It's not looking good. And then Kylie Minogue and Derek Tamanovich go to William Atherton, like, maybe we're too hard on them. It doesn't. Like, it looks like they're in trouble. It's been 2 hours.
Right.
That's the joke. Like, they're dying. It's only been an hour. So again, this stuff could have written itself, but they missed the obvious jokes.
Exactly. Yeah, that would have been that's because that's what it feels like the joke is going to be.
Exactly. And again, even with the contaminant, the food in the waste basket, in the nuclear waste basket. The joke isn't that there should be food in there.
Right.
The joke is it's another way for them to cause destruction in the biodome.
Yeah. They then see a lizard, which they chase off to try and eat, but they find a key in the lock of one of the windows to the outside world and wind up opening it.
Why?
Meanwhile,
why does the biodome have a back door?
I guess you
That's
need
a
one
good
for.
question.
I would think that it is a fire necessity.
That's a good point. Yeah, in case of an emergency, right?
There's got to be a fire code situation.
Yeah, I kind of felt as if they made it, or they framed it to be that it was someone accidentally left the key there. It was an error on one of the scientists' part for leaving the key in the window.
Right.
Instead of it being, and again, the joke there could have been William Atherton's character has the key. He's the only one who has the key to get out of the biodome. So now Bud and Doyle have to concoct a way to steal the key from Dr. Faulkner instead of it just being there.
Right. Yeah, it's like a maintenance guy that was building it. Oh, I'll just leave this key here so I won't lose it.
Exactly.
Just forgets it.
Yeah. Why couldn't it have been like they drug William Atherton, because it shows that they know how to cultivate things. Like at one point they grow marijuana. Pauly Shore and Doyle make some kind of drink out of pineapple. So they know how to make things. The joke there could have been like, oh, why don't you take a load off, Doc? You've been doing so much work. Well, here, have this drink, buddy. And William Atherton is like celebrating some achievement. He takes the drink, knocks him out. They steal the key. They leave, and they invite all of their junior college friends to the party.
Right. But sadly, no.
Sadly, we didn't write this movie. We were too young. We were 9 and 10 years old.
Meanwhile, Mimi and Petra try to convince Faulkner that it's time to let Bud and Doyle back into the group, but he says no, and he's perfectly content with letting them die. Which again, honestly, this is another movie where I side with William Atherton.
Doing his job.
Yeah. Once again, William Atherton, just a guy doing his job.
I think, I agree. I would rather they died in this movie. Or maybe just one of them died and they have a burial in the desert.
Yeah, it would have to be Doyle, right? Doyle dies.
100%. Yeah, Pauly Shore's not dying in this.
Yeah.
And then, Mark, you could have had the scene where Pauly Shore's telling all the bad things he did to Doyle. Like, I never got to tell you that I ruined your Aunt Flo's wedding, or that I did this, I did that to you.
Assume the position.
Assume the position. And then they have the fair. Again, we could have done the ice flow where they send the dead body on the ice flow.
A Viking funeral.
A Viking funeral. Oh, so good.
Bud and Doyle then leave the biodome and see that Doyle's car has been booted and has a ton of parking tickets. So they call for pizza at a payphone, and it winds up being Monique's mom's boyfriend, Russell, delivering pizza. he mentions that the girls have now been hanging out with some Arizona Tech guys. He gives the guys a flyer to an environment party that the girls are throwing. And then he leaves when they try to get in the car, saying he has to do more deliveries. But then decides the only way to stop the girls from going off with those college guys is to throw their own environmentally conscious party. And what better place to do so is right there in the biodome. So they call up their buddy Roach, who works at the copy place, and tells them to print up a bunch of flyers.
And by the way, his name is Roach just for the one line that Joey Lauren Adams says to him.
Oh, yeah, the raid.
Or Denise.
That's Rose McGowan that says it.
Yeah.
That's right. More like raid.
Mm-hmm. Those two characters have a story arc that we will mention at the end.
Man, you're just you're teasing us.
I know, teasing.
I like it.
Meanwhile, the girls are stuck in the massage circle with these college guys as Tenacious D plays some music. And someone passes out flyers to the biodome party, so everyone heads off to the party. By the time the girls and scientists get to the desert part of the biodome, the party is already in full swing. Most of the scientists get swept up into the party. Faulkner snaps, grabbing one of the partygoers by the throat until he's tackled and winds up getting handcuffed to a tree. Girls go to the party looking for Bud and Doyle, who are being carried around like Cleopatra through the party by a bunch of dudes. The girls tell the guys that they're assholes and that they're killing the biodome. In the morning, the biodome is trashed, and there are still some partygoers passed out. Bud and Doyle wake up hungover as Monique and Jen try their best to clean up after the party. Leakey comes in and debriefs with the team. Faulkner disappeared in the middle of the party, potentially having chewed through the handcuffs. And Leakey pulls the plug on the whole experiment and tells the scientists to go home. They go to leave, but Bud and Doyle tell them they need to stay to help them revive the biodome. So Doyle locks them in and tells them he's going to swallow the key, so they all have to stay and fix the biodome. And Russell pops up before he does, so he can leave, and then Doyle swallows the key.
That part was actually a little funny, too.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, you got 5 seconds before I do it, and he's on like 2, and out of nowhere, Tyler Negron was like, oh, wait, hold on, sorry. All right, go ahead. Okay, that's kind of funny. So two laughs. Yeah.
He might be my favorite part of this movie, Taylor Negron. Between that and just the fact that he wants to see the clown get shot at the mall. He's by default.
He's definitely the funniest person in the movie.
Yeah, he has the best lines.
Yeah.
Because she complains about all the beer cans, and she goes, "You know what that means?" And he's like, "We're out of beer."
Right.
The depends joke I didn't get.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We're out of depends.
We're out of depends. Like, wait, is he just like joking with her? But then apparently no, his character hurt himself.
Right. He had he hurt his kidney in a rollerblading accident or something like that.
What is that?
I don't know.
Probably could have left that on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. That feels like an improv, like an ad lib joke that they just kept in. So God knows what were the other ones, he said.
Right. Yeah, especially if it's in a scene where he's hitting on his girlfriend's daughter.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm out of is Magnum condoms, am I right? For my big dong.
Faulkner watches from the trees while this happens. While at home, Russell's watching the news to watch a news report about a sniper shooting a clown at the mall, and then Monique and Jen see the report that there's a standoff at the biodome and the scientists refuse to come out.
I will say, I just remembered, and it makes me laugh now, just because we're talking about it. They zoom in on the clown's face for like a split second. It's an interesting zoom in.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been funny until you guys mentioned it. That they make such a point to talk about the clown being killed by the sniper. I thought that is funny.
If we slow down the video, you can almost see the bullet entering and exiting.
But it reminds me of that scene. Like, remember how in Cable Man, where it's the twins are on trial? Cable Guy, yeah.
Or yeah. When Ben Stiller, like the Menendez brothers.
The Menendez brothers, yes. So it kind of reminded me of that. Like there's something really big going on outside of our main character's story.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I wonder if they'll just reference this more. Like it'll have something to do. Nope, it's just this one gag.
Yeah. I don't even remember what the payoff of that in Cable Guy is. There is no payoff, right?
There is. So the whole movie is the trial is going on. And at the end, Jim Carrey's character falls on the satellite that shorts out the feed as everyone's about to get the verdict on the trial.
Okay.
And that's it.
Gotcha. They check the readings, and the homeostasis is currently at 2%, which means that life will die in 14 days. So the team sets out to fix things and get the homeostasis back up. Bud and Doyle help by aiding photosynthesis using aluminum cans and wet bed sheets for condensation. And there's a media circus growing outside the biodome as people watch. Helsinki calls in Monique and Jen to try and talk some sense into the guys. But the guys say that they're serious this time and that they're going to stick it out for the rest of the year and fix what they ruined. So we montage through a year as they start fixing the crops, cleaning up, and going through holidays as Bud and Doyle start working as a team with the scientists. Meanwhile, Faulkner is somewhere in the bowels of the biodome going crazy. The homeostasis climbs up to the point where it's about 98% with less than 12 hours left of the experiment. And Faulkner has now created explosive coconuts and has eaten his parrot. At night, the guys relax after a hard day of work, and Mimi and Petra come into their room to thank them, quote unquote, and they all start making out. Bud stops because they have girlfriends, and they begrudgingly ask the girls to leave.
What did Pauly Shore ever do to be able to make out with prime Kylie Minogue?
I know, right?
And he again struck at the right time.
Yep.
He got famous thanks to us.
Yep. I'm sure he helped out with the casting decisions too.
Yeah. He might have fought hard for that.
Mm.
You know what I think this movie's missing? Me making out with Kylie Minogue.
That's right, Kat.
I at first I thought this was going to be a dream, and they were making out with each other when they woke up. So it would be
that would have been funnier.
That would have been funnier.
It would have been much funnier.
Right? So Bud and Doyle like, oh my, is this really happening? You know, like, and then they start making out, and you do the dream sequence kind of goes, and it's just them going in on each other.
And two girls are like
exactly
disgusted looking at them.
Exactly, like they're calling for their name. So you know how in the dream sequences it'll be like, oh Bud, or oh Doyle, Bud, Doyle, Bud, Doyle. Yep. Guys, that's the joke.
Yeah. Instead, they just give themselves blue balls.
That's the joke.
That's the joke. I will say that I found it very interesting that they chose their characters to not cheat on their girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, making out isn't great.
It's not great. Listen, what happens in the biodome stays in the biodome.
Right. It has been a long time since they're probably giving each other hand jobs, but they haven't gotten it in a year or so.
And that's probably an eternity for that, imagine.
Yeah. So after the girls leave, they hear humming, so they go investigate and find a hidden passageway. So they follow it and comes across a very grizzled Faulkner who says he's been creating some pyrotechnics out of coconuts to help with the festivities of the opening of the biodome, and asks the guys to help him. So they go around the biodome placing these coconuts. Faulkner sends them off to place more of the coconuts, telling them to keep their eyes on the clock because when it hits 0, they'll like what they see. The guys go off placing coconuts, talking about how great of a guy Faulkner is. And then Bud tells Doyle to go along. So Doyle runs out and Bud tosses a coconut like a football. But Doyle trips and the coconut hits the ground and explodes. Guys then realize the coconuts are actually bombs and the amount they place could level the whole biodome. So rescue attempts fail as the SWAT team can't break down the door. So Bud and Doyle try and go find Faulkner. Come across him in one of the offices. So Doyle and Faulkner rock, paper, scissors for the detonator. And Doyle loses because Doyle always loses. But this time he throws paper this time. That's the joke.
Yeah. Hilarious.
So then they start to chase Faulkner. Bud chases behind Faulkner while Doyle heads through the tunnels to cut him off. Chase ensues, and Doyle gets ahead of them in the desert and sets up a sort of hunting trap. Faulkner winds up running into a cow and loses the detonator, so Bud picks it up, struggles with it with Faulkner. Doyle pulls the trap. They both go flying into the fly paper until it falls down. They struggle some more with the detonator until Doyle throws a rock at Faulkner, hitting him in the head. Bud then picks up the detonator and disarms it with 2 seconds to spare. The scientists catch up to them and they celebrate, and they all head to the front door, which is now open as homeostasis reaches 100%, and it's now 365 days on the dot. But just as they get to the door, Faulkner comes sprinting to them with one last coconut bomb. Olivia pushes him as he throws it, and they all hit the deck as the bomb explodes. There's some commotion as it explodes, but moments later, after the dust clears, all the scientists come out unharmed from the explosion, and everyone outside celebrates. So outside, okay, so here's where it pays off. In this scene with the media circus at the end, Rose McGowan's character is pregnant.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't notice that.
They don't call attention to it, but she is there with Roach, and she's pregnant.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go back and see that because So all right, so she was the one who was telling him to get lost.
Yep.
So does that mean? So when would they have gotten pregnant in the biodome?
I think that party only happens a month in.
What would have been after the party?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
No need to have that.
No, not at all.
I guess just for like a little gag.
A little passage of time gag.
Okay.
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting that I wanted to point out because I did notice it.
It is interesting because I think that you could have done something better with that. It could have been you could have had a couple scenes with Roach and McGowan's character where maybe the first scene she tells him to get lost, and then in the second scene, maybe in the party in the biodome, she kind of looks like she's letting her guard down.
Right.
So
and there might have maybe there was a deleted scene or something like that, or something that never shot that had like an extra scene. But yeah, it could have been like they totally hooked up that night or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah. And everyone outside celebrates. Monique and Jen come over and embrace Bud and Doyle, and they all leave. As they get into the car, they leave to go back home. Doyle says he has to go to the bathroom, so they pull into what looks to be a nuclear power plant on the verge of a meltdown. And that is the end of Biodome. Not great.
Yeah. Yeah, not great at all. Very unfortunate. Again, there was so many missed opportunities. It's a competent movie in the way that you know what's going on. There's a very linear structure. Nothing crazy like out of left field happens in the movie. You know, it's very 90s. We were kind of going into a dry spell for comedies in the late 90s, early 2000s because it was all boner comedies. You know.
Yeah, this is like in between. This is still Jim Carrey is still a huge draw.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like right before the teen sex comedy thing picks back up.
Yeah, right before American Pie ruled.
Yeah.
The landscape. Yeah, slim pickings there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was again torturous from beginning to end.
Yeah, this was like I was legitimately. I know we joke about being bored at movies. I was legitimately bored watching this movie.
Oh yeah, very boring movie. Because again, nothing exciting happens. It's just two dummies destroying a building.
Yeah, being dicks. And we had to watch this. You guys watched this with commercials, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was longer than the hour and a half.
Yeah, they dragged it out for sure. So real quick, I was looking this up because this was one of the only, well, we've done other 90s movies before, obviously, but it's something I've always wanted to do, and I just remembered to do it. This is more for Anthony, but Mark, if you know, please feel free to chime in. What Simpsons episode aired the same week as Biodome in 1996?
The monorail.
Not the monorail. Not the monorail.
That's the only one I remember.
That's a good guess.
So this would have been, what was this been? It's like season 6?
Season 7.
Season 7. So season 7 has some good episodes.
Episode 13. I don't know if that helps.
Episode 13. I want to say Bart sells his soul.
No, that's close though. I think that was a week prior.
Oh.
So the episode that aired January 14th, 1996, Two Bad Neighbors.
Oh, okay. George Bush.
The Bushes.
Bart sells his soul, episode 4 of that season, aired
okay.
October 8th of 1995. So it was
not too far.
Yeah, 3 months off.
Yeah, but that's a pretty good guess.
Yep.
Two Bad Neighbors. I was always curious because it kind of puts a timestamp on it for us.
Sure.
So yeah, good episode.
Just watched that episode.
My memoirs. Not great.
Bar.
Hello, Mr. Bush.
All right. That's all for Biodome, but we've got one more segment this week, and it's a fun one. So we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some ads so we pay those bills, and we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for the third segment of the night. So we watched Biodome, and in Biodome, there is a biodome filled with 5 scientists. So we decided to do a fantasy draft. So we've got a team of 5 fictional characters. I didn't say that you had to pick scientists, but you have to pick your 5 people that you're joining the biodome with. and we're going to do snake order, and we're going to do a draft. So I'm going to pick the order right now.
Ooh.
With our spinner wheel. First pick is going to be Mark. Now, before you pick, let me pick who goes second. So Mark gets to go first again. And second is Dan.
Yay. Second comes after first.
All right, so Mark.
So if we're doing the Ricky Bobby rules, you're picking last, Dan.
That's right.
All right. All right, Mark.
Yeah. Okay, so my first pick, I couldn't decide between which one of the Jeff Goldblum characters I wanted. So I thought I would go for kind of the safe pick, just because every biodome needs a sexy scientist. So I will take Dr. Ian Malcolm with my first pick.
Okay, Chaotician.
Yeah, Chaotician. Yeah, that's a good idea, right? Because just in case Pauly Shore breaks into your biodome.
Sure. All right, Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park. Dan, what about you? Number 2.
Man, now I feel very self-conscious about my picks. We got into it off podcast. I'm a little nervous, but all right. So I'm gonna go. My first pick is Randy Marsh.
Oh, the geologist.
The geologist, yes, and he can also provide some entertainment because he's also Lord.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So he can sing.
He was on my short list.
Okay, yeah, Randy. I know he's a big dummy, but he does have a doctorate.
All right, good pick. For my first pick, I wanted to go with someone that knows vegetation, and I didn't want to be sexist either, so I wanted a female on my team. So I'm going with Pamela Lillian Isley, Poison Ivy herself.
It's a good pick. That she was on my short list as well.
Gotta have someone that knows that kind of stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah. For my second pick, as we are coming back around, sometimes emergencies happen and you need someone that could think outside the box, create something out of nothing. So there are 2 people that fit that category, but I'm going with Professor Roy Hinckley from Gilligan's Island.
Sure. That's pretty good. Yep. If you have coconuts, you could make a radio out of it.
There was a lot of coconuts in that biodome.
There you go. He could also probably make them explode.
Exactly. Yep.
That's a good pick. Forgot about the professor.
I did too for a while. That was a late edition, and I was like, that's perfect. All right, Dan, you're back up with your second pick.
All right. So I'm going with someone who knows general science here. He's a little bit of a quack, but I feel like in the episodes I've seen him in, he has some good inventions. I'm going with Dr. Frink from The Simpsons.
Dr. Frank.
Yes.
Pretty good.
Yeah, just a nut job, but he's like a mad scientist almost. I think he would be a good fit.
Gotcha. Good pick.
So I'm just assembling a bunch of crazy people.
That's true. Yeah, it's going to be a very entertaining biodome. It might not last the year though.
No.
I was, when you started saying that, I was pretty sure you were going to go Simpsons, and I was going to see how you're going to talk us into getting Dr. Nick on board.
Dr. Nick, oh God, no.
All right, Mark, you've got 2 picks now.
Okay, so my first pick, I'm going to pick someone who isn't really a scientist, but can definitely disguise herself as one. Because if I'm going to be in a biodome, I'm going to need some security. So I'm going to pick Black Widow as my
security. Wink, wink.
Uh-huh. Mm.
I like it. That's
not a bad pick.
Not at all.
Well, we know why you picked her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't blame you one
Nope.
second.
Well, year's a long time.
Yeah. And you could definitely break down her guard.
Yeah. You just have to get Dr. Ian Malcolm out of the way, though.
That's all. That's you set yourself behind the 8 ball there, Mark.
All right. Mark, what's the next pick?
Yeah, so I think with all this going on, I'm going to need an actual, doctor in case if anything goes wrong with us physically or mentally or anything like that. And I thought the best doctor to choose just to be in here was I will take one Dr. Mark Green from ER.
Okay.
Is that George Clooney's character?
No, that's Goose.
Goose. Okay,
Anthony
I don't know
Anthony
either.
Edwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it's a good idea. You do need someone to help out in case of an emergency like that.
Practical.
Yes.
And
Like
someone
it.
that can also play the piano. No, I don't.
And also who is not as good looking as Ian Malcolm, so you're not putting yourself even further on the short list for Black Widow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's used to being the second hottest person in the hospital.
There you go.
I mean, Noah Wiley. Let's not forget about Noah Wiley here.
Oh yeah, and I would be there, so he would be third. So
Yeah.
be the same.
All right, Dan, third.
All right, so someone who is good at growing things, who can cultivate the land, and is just an all-around good person to have around. Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings.
Boo.
What do you mean, boo? He's the hero of He Saved Middle Earth.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't have to walk anywhere. It's a pretty small biodome.
But he's still very nice. He can sing. He knows how to brew ale, and he's a good gardener. He's a very good gardener, and he can resist temptation. We know that.
All right. Okay. For me, I need a kind of a guy that knows a little bit about everything. Right. It's got to know science. Right. A little Renaissance man in the field. So sort of, he's playing a character, but it's sort of also his real life persona. I'm going with Bill Nye, the science guy.
I like it. That's good. And he's not as pretentious as Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he won't be constantly correcting you if you were to
100%
try to make a joke.
Yeah. Like Neil deGrasse. Well, actually, I don't feel like Bill Nye would be that way. No. He might correct you, but it would turn into like a fun science lesson. Actually,
right.
Here's the thing,
He would more guide you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when Christmas came around, he wouldn't give you shit for, celebrating Santa Claus or whatever. It's impossible to have Santa Claus travel. He would have to go through a wormhole. All right, yeah, man, we get it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in a biodome for a year. Let me have this.
Oh yeah, we're not both making it out of the biodome.
All what happened to Neil deGrasse Tyson? I don't know.
Just ran his mouth one too many fucking times.
Black Widow took him out.
Yep, that's her secondary reason.
Okay, my fourth. It's a little bit one that I did some research in, and it came out of left field, to be honest with you. But we have to figure out the food situation. I don't want to be like Bud and Doyle spitting out soy-based products. Sometimes you want spaghetti dinner. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that at Biodome, but who could figure that one out? Dr. Flint Lockwood from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Oh,
who had a food replicator. So that's my number 4.
Very smart. I thought the same exact thing. But mine, you guys are gonna kind of groan at it because I'm cheating a little bit here.
Okay.
And you said prior to us picking our team, we could pick only one comic book character, right?
Yep.
So my comic book character is Franklin Richards, the son of Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Now, the reason I picked him is he can alter reality. Now, I'm not asking him to do that in a grand scale here. I'm just asking, he can manipulate things where essentially if you want that spaghetti dinner, he could just imagine it and you would get that spaghetti dinner. So it's almost like having God there. So I don't know if you would count him, but I went I went deep for this one.
Sure. Now, is it he can actually conjure that out of nothing, or he can make you think you ate it?
No, he would conjure it out of nothing.
Gotcha.
So it would also be technically he could create me vegan food while eating meat, right? Because he could just like, hey, Franklin, I want some chicken cacciatore. Like, all right, boom, nothing died. He willed it into existence.
Yeah.
So again, it's kind of cheating, but I covered all my bases with that one.
Sure. No, nothing's real in this, so it's fine.
That's
all right, Mark. 4th and 5th.
All right. So I think since we're going to need some ingenuity, somebody that can come up with things out of nothing, and since we're not going to be so heavily focused on one scientific pursuit, I'm going to need somebody that can make inventions. So I'm going to take Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Oh, that's a good one. He was going to be my number one.
Yep, he was on my short list. Very good.
And since I will need somebody to be able to tend to the ground, as some would say, landscape, and make my hydrangeas look good, and other things, I am going to take Sean Dunn from Summer Catch.
All right. That veto. Pick another.
Come on.
Oh, he sounds so sad.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you take another pick. It's your pick, man. Live with it.
I will live with it.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, you could have got him as an unrestricted free agent. All right. Mark's just growing grass, I suppose, in this biodome.
Well, he's going to do everything shirtless too, so got something to look at.
Well, good. You just created competition with Black Widow there.
Yeah. She's just going to take turns. She's going to take turns on Ian Malcolm and Freddie Prinze.
Yep.
No. To clarify, I picked the dad, Fred Ward's character.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about Freddie Prinze.
Oh, yeah. No, I have no idea what the characters are. Okay. All right. Well, you do. Yeah, that's better. I think Fred Ward is. He's dead, but he's when he was alive.
Yeah. The dad has 30 years experience. I'm sure he could learn how to grow some food if needed.
Oh, but he's probably an ornery bastard.
Oh yeah.
He would get fed up with
man. Like there's no alcohol. I feel like he's probably a drunk.
Yeah.
I don't know if it comes through. I don't remember. Like I didn't watch the movie, so
yeah.
He's drinking beers.
I feel like the comic relief would be between him and Doc Brown because he would just be. He would just be.
He's in a good mood.
Cranky, ornery
to deal with Doc Brown shit.
Yeah.
You better hope he's in a good mood. All right, Dan.
I think you're gonna veto this.
There's no real vetoes.
Okay. Now that I think about it, it's kind of shitty, but again, because I'm cheating. But I picked Captain Planet.
Okay. So I see why that is kind of cheating because he's technically not a comic book character.
He's a TV show, right? But I'm sure there was a comic book of him.
But it was sort of the spirit of the one comic book character rule.
So if you want to veto it, I have a backup.
I will veto this one, actually.
All right. My backup is Gerard Butler.
There you go. Perfect.
Just not a character, just Gerard Butler.
Yep. I bet you he played himself in some movie. Yep.
Yeah. I would tell him, you don't need to do anything, Gerard Butler. You just be here. Just hang.
Nice.
He's your security.
No. He's just. I want to hang out with Gerard Butler for a year.
So basically, you're kidnapping Gerard Butler. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. He would be my special guest, kind of like how the one guy was it Leaky. Like, oh yeah, no, these are our special scientists, the chaos theory. I'd be like, no, here's my special guest, Gerard Butler, and I just take the mask off of him, because I kidnapped him.
Sure.
What am I doing here? Oh, don't worry about it, Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Tell me more about law-abiding citizen.
Mm-hmm. All right, for my last one, I kind of feel like I have my bases covered already. So, thinking going back and forth, it was like maybe like Ellie Sattler from Jurassic Park, but I already have a botanist. Don't need her. Then I was thinking like an oceanographer, like Steve Zissou. But like I don't know if I want to hang out with Steve Zissou for a year. He's kind of an asshole. But I could use an oceanographer. So, seeing as how we just watched Biodome, I'm going to pick Dr. Mimi Simpkins.
Derek Tomanovich?
Yep, because I would pick Kylie Minogue, but I already have botanist. So I'll pick Dr. Mimi Simpkins.
Not bad at all.
Mm-hmm. I am pleased with my team.
I just realized I have no females on my team.
I know. Man, I hope you guys like jerking each other. That's why you got Samwise. Samwise will jerk you off.
Yes, nicely.
I'll jerk you off, Master Frodo.
You can't do it yourself, so I'll do it for you. Music swells.
Oh man,
that's a line from the movie.
Randy Marsh is gonna jerk off like crazy.
Cover the desert.
Maybe Dr. Frank can like conjure you up some like a virtual reality helmet or something.
I'm sure he could, right?
Yeah.
Or Franklin Richards could just do it.
That's
Like,
true
all right,
too.
Bam. You want some women? Boom. There you go.
Now you got Bud and Doyle in your biodome. It's only supposed to be 5.
That's a good point. Yeah, so it would have to be virtual reality.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Yeah, no, Frank could definitely think of something.
Yeah.
He could create a computer program.
Sure.
Do we have the internet?
I mean, 96, they probably didn't, but I would think you would have the internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm fine. I'm covered.
Like, why wouldn't they also just why wouldn't they have television there?
Right. Yeah, that wouldn't affect the homeostasis.
I would think not.
Right. Just see, how funny would that be? Just like, all right, like we're just gonna stick them in this room with the TV and a couch, and we're gonna ride this out for the year.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the TV goes out.
Unless like all the they could have had it was that's like that's a Shining sort of situation.
Yeah.
Right? It's like people just go nuts after 365 days without any form of entertainment.
Dude, you could have done a Shining reference there.
Mhm.
That would have been hilarious.
All right, so those are our fantasy biodome teams. Why don't you go on one of the socials and tell us who you thought won that one? I feel like I won, but that's just me. Sure, these guys think they won too. They're wrong though. And yeah, that's gonna wrap us up for Biodome this week. Next week is very special week in our little sphere.
Oh yeah,
it is Gerarduary.
Yes. We've made it.
We've made it. We've gone around the sun once, and we're back to Gerarduary. So next week we're gonna do a Gerard Butler movie, and we're gonna surprise you which one it is. But tune in next week for Gerard Butler movie. Good old Gerarduary. That's gonna wrap us up this week. Check us out on all our socials. TCTAM Pod on Twitter and Instagram. They Called This Movie on TikTok. Have some time, give us a 5-star review on your podcast streaming app of choice. Helps out a great deal, and maybe we'll send you something. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's something. Maybe we'll send Samwise Gamgee to give you a hand job or something. I don't know.
He likes to walk, so
he'll be there. It might take him a while, but he'll get there.
He'll make the trip.
Yeah. He's been to Mordor, so it's like nothing.
Yeah, this will be a cakewalk. I mean, we got to go jerk some guy off in Wisconsin. No problem.
All right, that's going to wrap us up. The movie is Biodome. The director is Jason Blum. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Devecchio telling Jason Blum, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Call This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Call This a Movie.